Come on, goat. Come on, goats. There's Finnick and Blue. Hello, Striker. Come on, Clyde. You're a good goat, Clyde. It looks like this video will post the day after the 4th of July. So, happy 4th of July to you, and happy birthday, America. 250 years young. I put this flag up on our new shipping container, but high wind has knocked it down a few times. The pole is just magnetically attached. Here's the workaround that so far seems to be working for us. It's bungee corded to the cage around our air conditioner. I've got some potentially exciting news to share. Yesterday, the neighbor who owns the land to the north of us and to the east of us came over and talked about a fencing project that affects our southeast corner. We had a great conversation and ended up hopping in his pickup truck and driving around his place as well as driving around our place. He grew up around here. His name is Lane, and he has memories when he was younger of fishing in the big pond in front of our place. His family operates 3 separate farms, each of them quite a bit larger than ours. The one that's adjacent to our land they call the South Farm. I just recently finished brush hogging the rest of our pasture, so it's looking pretty good right now. We have way more grass than our animals need, and he has cattle that could use more grass to put them on. So now we're talking about renting some of our space for maybe a few weeks at a time for his cows to use our land. They practice rotational grazing, so his cows would only need to be here for a relatively short period of time. They eat the grass down, then they go off to somewhere else, and the grass has a chance to grow back. What a win-win situation for us. I mean, potentially I would have to brush hog less, which is good. The cows would be fertilizing the land for free, and he'd be paying us for the privilege of doing all that. I can't really see any downsides, and I'm excited to talk to him about it. Here's the corner that they're working on. Right now, beef prices are pretty high, so he can afford to do some fencing work. They've been cutting out old scrubby cedars along the road here, and right here in our corner. What we had here before was an old railroad tie as a corner post, and it was kind of leaning a little bit. Now they put in these nice metal posts so they can have a real secure H-brace system. Because the fence right now is wide open right there, I'm keeping our does inside their enclosure. Lane was nice enough to say that if our goats ever did get on his property, that it wouldn't be a very big deal. But still, I'd like to keep our goats from getting in that kind of habit. This brush pile is just one of several. They're all just stacked along the fence line here, so eventually they're going to be burning quite a bit, it looks like. Here's that old railroad tie fence post. It's in pretty bad shape. I'm not sure how much life it had left in it, so I'm glad to have this thing replaced. Over here, just so you can get an idea about how long their fence line is. This is what they took out from the fence line. It's all going to be replaced. Our neighbors are containing cows. Barbed wire fence is just fine for that, but barbed wire fence will not contain our goats. In anticipation of our goats slipping through the strands of barbed wire, I'm going to pre-position some large branches that I can use to weave together a little barricade just along the bottom of that fence line. I'll have to wait until the guys are done building the fence, stretching the barbed wire before I do that. You can bet that if we do end up hosting cows out here, we're going to do a show and tell for YouTube. Before that could happen though, there's some fencing and gate work that has to happen here on our property. And I'm thinking that negotiating some help with that might be part of the rental deal. I really appreciate it when folks leave comments or have questions about our videos. Recently, we got a question, or maybe more of a request for more information about these cages of rocks out here. The request came from Vicky, I Love Boxers. She is one of our longest standing and most loyal viewers. I want to officially dedicate this video to you, Vicky. Here in the Ozarks, we have a lot of rocks. The fields need to be cleared to protect equipment that we have to use out here. These cages of rocks are one of the traditional ways of dealing with it. Right now, I'm standing on the back side of our property, and there's 3 of these cages, all of them on the other side of the fence. There's advantages to dealing with the rocks like this. When you have several cages in different spots along the fence line, you don't have to carry the rocks so far. You're just putting them into separate piles as you gather them together. And using them along a fence line is actually a very smart thing to do because it's a stable structure, and oftentimes you're going to see them incorporated into fence lines. The old timers who owned this place, they just made giant piles of rocks out in the woods. And that's a pretty sensible way to go. You just have to cart them all off into the woods though and make big piles rather than relatively smaller ones like this. Now, I've heard these things referred to as Missouri monuments. I Googled that term and it doesn't show up anywhere, so I'm thinking it's just a term that isn't really widely used. But it's kind of a fun thing because Missouri has so many rocks and it's like monuments everywhere. The more official term to refer to these kind of structures is a gabion cage. Now, it's possible to creatively use square boxes or cages of rocks as building material and to make structures or supporting walls or different things like that. Most folks just do the fencing in a circle and just fill them in. So they don't get too creative out here usually. In a lot of ways, if you've seen one of these things, you've seen them all, but sometimes you come across an interesting one. We're not too far from our place, and I've just asked the guy permission. He was mowing his lawn out here so I can do this video. This one incorporates a street sign. I would not call this a gabion cage. At best, it's a pile of rocks along the fence line. I put them here because it's a good place to put rocks and get them out of my way. But also, there's a kind of a steep slope right there, and by filling in the gap, I don't have to mow a difficult steep slope. There was an additional benefit that I had not anticipated. I've noticed on cooler days, when the sun has a chance to beat down on these rocks, our goats will take advantage of like the wind break a little bit, plus they just enjoy the radiant heat that they give off. I've got a couple pictures, I'll put them in here. Thanks for watching. Remember, your dreams are closer than the moon. Thanks for taking this trip around the moon with us.